Hey, welcome to another episode of Raiders of the Lost Art, where we go over all the recent pop culture news and just have a good time. And today we've got some very special guests. We got the one and only God himself, Odin.
How's it going, everybody?
Oh, yeah, I guess I should let you say something before I move on to introduce everyone.
Typically how intros work, but that's okay.
It's those nerves, you know?
Yeah.
We've also got one of the lovely ladies from Force Light Entertainment. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you guys doing?
Doing fantastic. I'm glad to be here. I'm glad all of you are here.
Yeah.
And then we've got the salty nerd who just got monetized like the other day.
Yep, finally happened. Thanks to you guys.
I think your mic is a little off.
The same thing just happened. Yes.
Yeah. It was all fine.
By the way, a huge shout out to James Mangold for allowing that magic to happen. Of course.
How's that? How's that audio? Is that
Sounds
better?
so much better.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Infinitely better.
Awesome. Sorry about that. Yes, we finally got monetized thanks to James Mangold. He had his day where he just was having apparently a bad Sunday, and thanks to him, we got over 1,000 subscribers to the channel, and then we were able to apply for monetization. And we got approved within like 3 or 4 days. So we had plenty of watch hours. Our watch hours were well above the needed requirements, and we were just waiting on those subs. So now we got to welcome 1,000 new people to our channel, which was great. We really appreciated it.
Yeah, that's amazing. So congratulations on that, because I'm so happy for you guys. Been waiting for you to get there, and I'm glad James Mangold had a freak out.
Yeah, I am too. I mean, I wish it would have happened under better circumstances, but I'll take the win. It was all good, man. It's all good.
Oh, absolutely.
With YouTube, you just take like whatever will get you recognized or noticed, because it's like you can have the world's greatest content, but if no one can find you, it just doesn't matter. So you take a win however you can get a win.
Yeah, that's very true. It's tough getting that initial traction. Once you have that, I think then it starts picking up and you're okay. But right before that, oh man. And I'll just mention all their links are in the description, so make sure you're subscribed to all of them, because they all make amazing content. Remember to smash that like button, and before we kick it off, just consider becoming a channel member, because I finally have those up and running, or join on Patreon, and you can join the live movie roast that we do every couple of weeks. They're just a ton of fun. I know Michelle has been there, joined us for A Quiet Pace, just tearing that thing apart.
We had a lot of fun, and we love that movie, but we had a lot of fun with that movie.
Okay, so I've got the first story up here, and this one just came out today. It was with basically Screen Rant and their Access Media. Oh, okay. So I know I showed this to Salty right before we went live, and he kind of wished that I waited to get his live reaction. Now, have either of you seen this? Sorry, Salty. Go ahead.
I feel like they're kind of bringing this back, because I feel like this conversation began after the premiere of season 2 of The Mandalorian, and it's kind of interesting that they're bringing it back up.
Did they get it so wrong last time, though?
Well, I remember after The Mandalorian, the first episode of season 2, they started talking about how this finally humanized them, and how basically kind of all the same junk. Yeah. Maybe it's not as bad. I haven't read it, so I'll wait.
Okay, so then I'll just read it out for you guys, and we'll get your reaction. I think Michelle might have something to say once she hears this. So this all came out from Screen Rant about how the Mandalorian retcons makes the original trilogy weird to watch, and there's this section about the Tusken Raiders, and it says, in A New Hope, Tusken Raiders are portrayed as violent, barbaric people who are simply antagonists to the humans. They kill Luke Skywalker's adoptive parents. In A New Hope, one of the events that cause him to venture out into space. The Tusken Raiders also appear in Attack of the Clones, where they are a similarly mindless threat kidnapping Padme. Anakin slaughters the whole tribe in what is presented as a dark and disturbing act, but one that is nevertheless understandable.
Okay,
did they just say that they kidnapped Padme?
Yes. I was just saying two little statements there.
Two things. Major plot points in both of these movies completely wrong. Like I always laugh when people are like, have you even seen the movie? Like I hate when people say that to me, but genuinely, have they even seen the movies?
Hashtag Shmi Lives Matter.
Yes.
Oh, it's so ridiculous.
I can't believe it. Go ahead, Michelle.
Did you say this is Screen Rant?
Yes, this is at Screen Rant.
It's like, how did they publish something where, one, everyone knows it was the stormtroopers who killed his aunt, Uncle Owen, and Aunt Peru, and then secondly, it was his mother who gets taken in Attack of the Clones, not Padme.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's.
Sorry. Go ahead.
No. Yeah.
That's the weirdest thing about it is like, how could you get something so wrong and make it past all the levels that it would need to get published online? Mm-hmm. Like somebody had to have read that and be like, yeah, okay, that works. Like obviously, yes, they've never watched. Like, why are they writing about a movie they've never watched before?
That's exactly what I was thinking too.
Yeah. They're going for the headline, and they're going for the it's time now for us to address the serious issues of calling them sand people and how they need to be humanized more. I mean, that's what it's all about. So they don't if they get a plot point or two or three wrong along the way, they don't care.
Yeah.
It's pretty clear. The entire thing is just about how the original trilogy doesn't hold up because the Tusken Raiders are humanized like they are in The Mandalorian, but they clearly didn't watch the original trilogy. It's so obvious.
Yeah,
and somebody was paid.
Oh, that'll aggravate you. Yeah, somebody got paid to write this nonsense. There was another thing I just kind of want, as a goofy fan theory that I like to kind of spin around out there, is that Aunt Beru and Uncle Owen, I like the idea that maybe they were killed by Boba Fett, and that's the reason. That's the reason why, because Anakin knows who Owen and Beru are. And when he finds out that Boba Fett went and disintegrated them in Empire Strikes Back, that's the reason why he says no disintegrations. Like, I know it's stupid and I know it's not true, but I like that theory.
I understand that you were just trying to make him cool in the original trilogy.
Yeah.
Well, and to me, it's ridiculous for the fact that it has falsehoods in it. But when you see the Tusken Raiders, your first time seeing them in A New Hope, Luke is doing nothing, and they're just straight up trying to kill him. In that situation, what was he supposed to do? And all Obi-Wan does is make a sound to shoo them off. There's nothing bad done in the situation. And yes, they are kind of barbaric, and they're barbaric. That's literally, that word is used in The Mandalorian, the first episode of season 2. It's just that Mando knows how to communicate with them, and that kind of makes all the difference.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They were never like an outright villain. They were more just something to be aware of, something to be wary of. Like, if you're going to go out into the wilds of Tatooine, you have to be aware that these people live out there and are very territorial. So it was never like the Sand People were the evil, barbarians of whatever. It was just kind of like, no, you go out there, you're in their realm. You have to watch your back.
Which, if you take any story from like frontier times, you would be like, oh, be careful crossing this, or be careful going there, because there is a tribe, or there is a group of people who will, there are bandits on the road. Like this is very standard in storytelling, and so the fact that they just can't accept that here and they have to make it into something more than what it is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Okay, and the real Sean Crummell sent in $2. Thank you so much.
What's up, Sean?
He said, "I don't believe editors exist on the internet." I think he's right, because that's the part that was kind of driving me nuts this morning. You think, okay, so the writer gets the story, doesn't know much, but they put it up, And then the editor's supposed to catch these mistakes, supposed to like go over to check things, but it's clear they've got no idea about anything Star Wars related.
Yeah.
Like, how did they get through all the safety checks? I just don't know.
Kind of reminds me a little bit about the Lucasfilm story group and how there are certain storylines that somehow get through, and you're like, wait a minute, this seems to contradict something beforehand, but I guess they were like, oh, whatever, it doesn't matter. But still, these checks and balances exist, and yet somehow, some way, these things get through pretty easily, it seems.
Yeah.
I wonder. I'm assuming that they've been called out for this. I don't know how long ago they posted this article, but I'm wondering if they've redacted it and changed it to make sense, or if they've just left it alone.
Well, I have it here. I don't want to refresh in case I lost it.
Well, you got the screenshot, right? Is this a screenshot or is this the actual article?
No, that's a screenshot.
Okay,
yeah, I took that screenshot, so it's there forever. But I can refresh to see if they update, because they just posted this today, and I couldn't find it on their Twitter feed at all.
I wonder if they took it down.
They might have, because I think anyone who reads it is going to be able to pick it out very quick.
Here's something that's crazy. There was an article. This is what the article named. This is from November of 2020. The Mandalorian fixes George Lucas's Tusken Raider mistake. So now they're just regurgitating the same information.
Must be a slow news week.
Seriously.
Oh. Yeah, I think this is just kind of one of the problems with access media right now. You know, because they kind of shill towards the major corporations without really caring about any of the franchises. And then when fans go out and say anything, they immediately jump on calling them, you know, kind of the worst things in the world. You know, ists and phobes and all that nonsense. Where
it's the handbook. It's the legacy media handbook for nerd culture.
Well, and it's interesting, too, because it's kind of their way of bashing George Lucas to just lift up Disney, I guess, is the goal there. Because you're kind of bashing what he did to lift up, oh, well, look what The Mandalorian did. There's kind of a pinning against each other there.
Yeah, that's true, too. Like, I wonder, like, I'm all about conspiracy theories, but I always have to go back to the common denominator. Like, what's the lowest common denominator is somebody who's just really dumb, right? That's kind of like, you got dumb people who just make mistakes. And then you could dive a little bit deeper. You could say something like that. Like maybe they're trying to kiss up to Disney. Maybe it's some kind of collusion where Disney's like, hey guys, we need to build up our brand. Can you guys, you know, throw some shade to the original trilogy? I wonder how true that is versus people just are dumb and make mistakes. Like there's a balance there I got to find.
Well, and in that, stupid people, as far as that, it's kind of like, oh, that was the old, and in the old everyone was bad and did bad things. We're enlightened now, and look what they did now. So it's probably like that, which I do equate to being kind of stupid.
Yeah, and I have the it has been updated, and they have fixed it to Shmi.
They updated it. Yeah.
The entire paragraph is completely different than it was before. Now they attack Luke Skywalker after he earlier cautioned about their dangers at night. This is deepened by the Tusken Raiders' role in Attack of the Clones, where they kidnap Shmi.
Shmi. Did they spell that wrong?
Isn't that wrong?
I thought that didn't
wrong.
look right. Yeah.
Yeah. It's Shmi. I think Shmi is SHMI.
Yeah. I think it's very extra SH. Yep, sure is SHMI.
Yeah.
And also, if they were going to be truly accurate, it's Shmi Skywalker Lars.
Oh, yeah, because she got married.
Yeah, she did.
Oh, wow. So even their redaction is wrong.
Oh, my
God.
Amazing.
A simple search on DuckDuckGo or Google would have helped you there, buddy.
Well,
that's awesome.
Okay, now I'm just confused at how this happened twice. Like, this isn't a one-time occurrence. Same article, same paragraph, and they screw it up.
Again. I mean, it's a spelling mistake, which is, you know, it's less so. But even so, it just shows how little they really care.
Yeah.
It's just for clicks. I mean, this is just standard, like, hey, guys, look at this paragraph. Get some nerds to read it and become outraged at something. It's nonsense. This is why I don't...
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I would say this makes it even better. So this is written by Robert Hutton. It says, Robert Hutton is a feature writer for Screen Rant. He has a PhD in English and has previously been published by both academic and popular publications. So,
way to do your research there. What's his name? Yeah. Rob?
Yeah, Rob Hutton.
Okay. So he's got a PhD, but he doesn't know how to do research.
Well, he probably knows how to research things that he's passionate about, and Star Wars is clearly not one of them.
It says Rob is a lifelong fan of science fiction and fantasy. In his spare time, he watches old television, watches weird movies, and writes an unpublishable novel.
Oh.
So he writes fan fiction that he never wants to see the light of day? That's what I've just gotten from that.
Is that what you take out of that? Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
Unpublishable novel, like...
that he's continuously working on.
Well, I think that kind of goes with his unpublishable articles.
Yeah. That is a strange way of describing somebody's work.
Yeah.
Unpublishable.
Yeah.
I wonder why. Is it just that bad, or is it owned by some other company? Like he can't use it because it's an IP?
And typically for bios, you write your own bio. So he would have written that himself. It just makes me ask so many questions.
Or is it unpublishable because it's like super raunchy? Is there some weird thing going on there?
That's what I said. It's like fan fiction that he never wants to see the light of day.
Yeah. He's a Raylo. That's what it is.
The mystery is solved.
Detective Salty's on the case. I gotta Google this guy. What's his name?
Rob Hutton. Hutton. Hutton.
And while you Google that, the real Sean Crummell sent in $5. Thank you so much, Sean. He said, when you call out fake geeks on their BS and ignorance, you're threatening their livelihoods and they lash out at you to save face. Well, we'll see, because I called them out. I don't think they've responded to me at all. I think a couple people have called them out too.
To be honest, I don't even think they care. I think that they're getting the clicks, which means they're getting, whatever ad revenue or whatever. I'm sure these people might even get paid by how many clicks they can get on an article. So he's probably sitting back there with his PhD like, I don't care. I'm still getting paid. Why should I care? I'm going to go work on my unpublishable book and be happy.
I honestly do wonder if that's why it was in there, just to get a little, I don't know, kind of uproar, so that people start sharing like, oh, look at these fake nerds. And then it's the only way they can make money because they're not putting out quality articles.
That's not a terrible point, especially since we've already shown they did the same thing in November. They did the same article essentially. And so what's the best way to get this one with traction? Oh, put in clear mistakes. And then all of a sudden it gets shared around like, oh, look at these idiots. But guess what? We're the real idiots by sharing it and by...
Because we're talking about it on the
Exactly.
I know.
Damn it worked.
They're playing 4D chess.
And Roger H sent in a super sticker, a big red thumbs up. Thank you so much. You help keep on the lights here. Appreciate you. Oh, for this, I completely forgot to, give you guys a screaming goat.
Always a classic, though. I love that video.
Oh, I love that thing. Okay, so for the next story, because I think we're basically giving them way too much attention and credit right now. So the next story that I have is have you heard how Batman is kind of a selfish lover?
What is this?
I've heard it.
Okay, so you have not.
No, this is new to me.
Okay. Here, let me just bring this up.
Oh, the image.
Yeah.
Oh, that's going to come up. I just wanted to give people a little bit of how this all started.
This comes from Vanity Fair.
Yeah, so there's an interview with one of the head ups, at Warner's, and he was discussing all these different properties, and one of the ones that came up is Batman, and so they ended up. I guess one of the writers wanted to have a sex scene with Batman and Catwoman in in the cartoon, which first I don't know why that's there. That seems kind of unnecessary to Batman in general. But he says it's incredibly gratifying and free to be using characters that are considered villains because you just have so much more leeway, says Halpern. A perfect example of this is in this third season of Harley, Harley Quinn. We had a moment where Batman was going down on Catwoman, and DC was like, you can't do that. You absolutely cannot do that. They're like, heroes don't do that. So we said, are you saying heroes are just selfish lovers? They were like, no, it's that we sell consumer toys for heroes. It's hard to sell a toy if Batman is going down on someone.
This is so strange.
It's exactly strange.
I know me and Owen might disagree on this. On the one hand, it's like if it's an adult cartoon, I believe Harley is an adult cartoon, right? It's MA.
It is
for mature audiences only. Okay, so you should have a little bit of leeway there if you want to do something extreme. If you're labeled underneath mature audiences, obviously teenagers are still going to find a way to watch it, but that's besides the point. But the idea, like, no, we can't have a hero do that. I mean, I don't know, man. That's kind of ridiculous. But at the same time, I can understand their point. Like, no, we can't have our hero doing that. We can't have Batman doing something like that because it puts off a bad message. Maybe you could
give
say that.
Batman a break. I mean, he's been out fighting crime all night. The guy is tired when he gets home. He just doesn't have the energy to do all the.
I saw your tweet when Zack Snyder tweeted that image out. You were not too happy about that. Is that correct?
I just because like for me, I looked at it and I'm just like, what in the heck is this doing in a comic series? Like I just it just comes from my understanding that I feel like we live in a very hypersexualized society, and to have that going around, I was just like, the fact that they were having that conversation, like I think like shifting back there, that conversation. And the fact that it was happening, it's like, well, we can't show him doing that because he's a hero. The real question or the real comment should have been, we can't be showing that. Obviously, we have MA content here, but we have to draw a line somewhere. Maybe we shouldn't have these characters going down on each other, even though it's an MA content. Like, to me, MA for like a cartoon or for a comic adaptation or something, that means maybe language or maybe violence, right? Those are the types of things that are appropriate for that medium. But when you're adding in sexuality to it, it's just like, I find that's over the top. That's too much.
I don't, personally, I just want to know if the world's greatest detective was able to find the elusive clitoris.
Where's the clip from Jay and Silent Bob? I'm the clip master. I'm sorry, there's a lady present. I'm sorry. What are your thoughts on this?
Jay and Silent Bob quote though.
My thoughts are pretty much like, why is this here? Like, why are we even discussing this? Like, it's not even really a discussion of, like Odin was saying, like, it doesn't matter if he would or would not. That doesn't really matter. It just doesn't really fit. And I do get what they even mean about like their hero. I know we've had darker takes on Batman with The Dark Knight and even Batfleck to a degree. But they don't ever really go sexual. I mean, even in The Dark Knight, the sex scenes, it's more like they kiss and then they wake up the next day. Yeah. Like, they keep it very clean even in that. So I just, to go to such a personal thing to show that, it just doesn't fit. And it's like, why?
It's definitely an extreme. When I think of Catwoman and Batman, obviously I grew up on the animated series, which strayed away from all this. They had hinted a lot at like some sexual tension, but it was never outright shown or anything. But the one thing I do remember is in the 1980, was it the 89 Batman that had Catwoman? Mm-hmm. Yeah,
or the 92.
90. Which one was it?
With Michelle Pfeiffer?
Batman? Yeah, Michelle Pfeiffer.
It was definitely the second one.
Second one, okay. Where she pinned Batman down to the ground and like licked from his neck all the way up through his mask. It was very, very hypersexual. But like that to me is probably the farthest you could take it. You could definitely insinuate that something was happening behind the scenes, you know, do one of those fade out kind of moments where they're in the same room together or whatever. I don't necessarily have an issue with that. There's always been some kind of romance between Catwoman and Batman, but this definitely seems like they were trying to push the limits for sure.
Well, it's like I really love them together. I mean, I actually was happy at the end of the Dark Knight trilogy when they ended up together. I like Batman and Catwoman together, but leave a little for the imagination is all we're saying. Like, we don't need to see exact details of their intimacy here in a comic book world.
I feel like you add that kind of stuff when you're out of ideas, or you're looking you're looking for attention. Like we're talking about it right now, and so it's one of those things where it's like it's a cheap move on their part. It shows a lack of creativity on their part.
I think you're
right. I definitely see that point. They're trying. It's shock value. They're trying to get that attention with shock value.
Yes.
You know, it's an easy way to get attention and I don't know, get people talking. You know, if you're not doing it on the writing, this is a very simple way to start it. You know, insert something that people have never seen and really doesn't belong in the superhero series. Like what's added to the show?
Yeah.
It's just that shock value. That's it. They're just trying to go for that. Like, boom, look what we got. Look what we got on screen. So.
Yeah.
Well, if you noticed, even in Deadpool 2, they toned it down a tiny bit on the sexualness of Deadpool 2, because I think when parents took their kids to Deadpool and were like what did we take our kids to watch? I think they toned it down a tiny bit because they recognized even in a very foul-mouthed R comic, like, oh, we maybe went a little bit too far.
Who was taking their kids to Deadpool?
Yeah,
people did. People did.
I worked at a movie theater for 3 years, and I was always incredibly disturbed. Not only by images like this, but also by when parents would come up and they would be like, yeah, 2 tickets to, you know, this or that. And I'm like, really? Like, part of me was like, are you really taking your child to this movie?
Oh, I went off on somebody one time because I went to go see Alien Covenant, I think, when it first came out. And there was a couple there that had like their young, like 4-year-old child with them. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, get a babysitter or something. Like, this is ridiculous. I can understand, like, adult parents want to go out and have a good time and go see a rated R movie, but, like, you got to work around that. You can't bring your 4-year-old to a freaking movie where people getting eaten by aliens. It's crazy.
Yeah. That's why I'm glad.
They're 4.
AMC
they
had
won't
a policy
remember.
on that. Yeah. AMC had a policy on that at a certain time. Even if you were, you know, adults and bringing your kid, we wouldn't allow parents to bring in small children to like R-rated showings, or I think like just prime showings in general, because we wanted to create a better atmosphere. So
it seems super weird.
Okay, so you know, talking about the shock value, well, once this news came out, Zack Snyder like jumped on this, and I believe he had this image commissioned, and I think he's making it canon that Batman does in fact do this type of thing.
Well, I think if anyone has watched the very beginning of Army of the Dead, no one is shocked by the fact that that's what he went with, okay?
God, that intro sequence.
It was so dumb.
I think I quote tweeted him and I was like, I'll sign up for the Snyder Cult now. I was joking, obviously. I was being sarcastic, which apparently people have a hard time understanding about my tweets. But I kind of like the burn it all down factor that he was kind of doing. Like, he was kind of throwing shade at WB, I guess. I mean, at this point, he kind of can do whatever he wants with WB. They've screwed him over enough times, but I just thought
that's
it was
probably
funny.
why he was throwing shade.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, I kind of like that factor to it. Not that I'm agreeing with whether or not that's okay or that it should be canon. It doesn't bother me that much, but I can understand your guys' point. But to the Zack Snyder point, I just like that he was throwing shade at WB. That's kind of why I was like, hey, man, this is funny stuff.
I mean, it was, and it was done quick. Like, that's the impressive part.
Yeah, that's why when it first came out, like, I thought, like, oh, so this has already been created? Like, this already exists? And I was like, that's why for me, I was like, that's disgusting if this is actually, like, something that's already been established as canon. But also, too, it's interesting because I think as much shade as he was throwing at WB, I feel like he may have even been throwing shade at some comic fans as well, because one of the biggest critiques of his films were from a lot of comic fans who were like, this is not what Superman is. This is not what this is not who Jonathan Kent is supposed to be. Right? I think that was a big problem point for a lot of people, was how he killed Clark Kent's dad. And then also too, like with the way that Batman was portrayed as well, some brought up the issue of this is not really the character that has been established for a long time. And so I kind of almost took it also as a swipe at fans in a certain way as well.
You could for sure.
Yeah.
I know my co-host Kadish, Matthew Kadish, he has a big problem with Zack Snyder, and he's like, yeah,
I could
he
tell.
When I quote tweeted that Batman image, he DM'd me and he's like, hey, just remember, this is the same guy who said Batman would be raped in prison. Like, I'm like, yeah, I get it, man. You don't like him. Like, there's a lot of love-hate relationship with Zack Snyder. He's a very, very what's the word?
Polarizing.
Yeah, polarizing character. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, if I wasn't demonetized for sharing that image of Batman, I am now after. Okay. And David Neal sent in $4.99. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. Says, "Oh no, numbers are down. Let's get nasty."
Yep.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head right there.
Sex sells. Sex sells.
Yeah, but also think about it. Like, you think about, because I was never a comics person, and so I can't think of an actual conversation that would have happened. But I imagine that a lot of people, if they were talking comics with each other, they would say, "Oh, you remember that one issue? And when this happened," like, it would be about the character arc. It would be about like some like key event that had an actual impact on the character's development. And now it's like, "Oh, did you see that one issue when Batman went down on like," like there's such a drop in quality there that it's So I'm glad, I guess, that it's not real as far as it being from an actual legit comic, and that he did get that commissioned for someone to do.
I believe it was.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe somebody could correct me because I don't think that showed up in the comics. I think that was done by Zach. Like, he had this made after the news, because I just can't picture that showing up there. I know they allude to things.
Sean is my go-to guy if I have questions about comic books, because he is a super lifelong comic book reader, and his knowledge is immense. He's actually in the comments. He said they've had sex in the actual comics. I wonder how graphic it actually got. Yeah. And then the second comment that he made was Batman was in prison in one of the comics, and he beat the crap out of everybody in there. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. No, and that's what he would do.
Yeah. He'd go full Punisher from from Daredevil season 3. That scene with Punisher in prison, dude. That was intense.
Oh yeah. Okay, and Press Play Streaming Studios sent in $4.99. Thank you so much. He said, "Just stopping in to show some support. Well, hope all is well." It is, and thank you for showing your support. I appreciate all you guys. Okay. I had a point right before that. I was going to bring it up right after. Oh, it's going to kill me that it was right there.
Just keep it rolling, buddy.
I know. I'm just go ahead, Michelle.
Well, and I'll just say too, back to the kind of the hero thing. They really do, I think, with Batman more than any character, really have to protect him, because Batman has been Warner Brothers' bread and butter. Like, you can't tarnish that character at all, because he is their moneymaker.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's understandable.
And I know it wouldn't tarnish him to X amount of people, but if it tarnishes him to even a big portion, you just have to say no.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how this Matt Reeves Batman movie is going to come out, with all the stuff with Robert Pattinson coming, like he won't work out for the role and stuff. I'm like, I wonder if the studio's like biting their nails for when this movie comes out.
Oh yeah. So I did remember what I was going to say, and it was going back to what Odin said, where previously you'd have people talking about very specific story arcs that affected them. And what's the last thing that went viral in Batman or the superhero world? Like, I think the last thing that I actually remember is when they actually showed Batman nude. Like that was the big thing they were going for. You know, so they had a whole panel.
When did that happen?
Oh, I think that would have been a year or two ago. And like they did a full frontal Batman thing. So
really?
there was, yes.
In what, a comic?
Yes, in a comic.
And again, it's just kind of like, why? But why?
Yes. Well, that's what people are saying. And I think there was so much backlash that they ended up going back and blacking it out because like this is unnecessary. This has nothing to do with Batman.
That is full on mushroom top.
Oh, you did look it up.
Yeah, that's right.
I am not showing that image here.
No. It's in very dark shadow, but there's definitely a clear outline.
Oh boy.
It's very unnecessary.
Oh my god!
Like I had to see. I didn't know what you were talking about. I had to see for myself. That is that's an image of Batman's dick.
Yeah, that's why when Sean says the comic industry is dead, yeah, it sounds like it.
I mean, I don't know. The art is fine. Like it's not like bad art. Like the rest of the image is very nice. It's got some cool shading, and he's a very muscular dude. But there's no reason to have frickin' just thing hanging there.
Well, Snyder shows Affleck's butt in Batman v Superman.
Butt is okay.
He gets a full butt shot though.
That is America's ass.
When I brought up this subject, they're like, "Oh, okay, this will be fun." I didn't expect it was going to go to the Batterwang, like invite Odin on, and then it's like, yeah, this is what I'm going to talk about with you.
Yeah, it's a great segue because I think we're going to talk about the sexualization of Black Widow in the next article. So that's a great segue.
That is the next thing. But just first, Backyard TARDIS sent in $5. Said yes, that comic shows that Bruce is. Oh my god! That Bruce is a shower, not a grower.
Oh
no! Oh, good for you! Good for you, Backyard TARDIS.
Odin's got like a migraine right now.
Odin is
not the worst thing. Not the worst thing. If anyone's ever seen an episode of Friday Night Tights, I have heard much worse. So.
Oh.
Odin, you actually made me laugh. I'm not gonna say Ryan said something this past week, and you just started going. Like, you just shook your head for like a solid minute. Like, no, you didn't just say that.
I wear my emotions on my sleeve, so every time anyone ever does that, people always say, "Oh, look at Odin," because I'm like, yeah, because it's how I actually feel in that moment. Because I can't. It's something I've never been good at hiding. How
I do wonder sometimes when you're on Friday Night Tights and those guys start going off, I'm like, ooh, Odin's like freaking out right now. I can see him crawling in his skin.
Yeah. It was 2 weeks ago was probably the most uncomfortable I'd ever been because they had brought up the CNN guy and they just went off and I'm just like,
oh God.
I was like, no, please don't.
You were saying 12 Hail Marys in your head?
Yeah. They need a lot more than that, but yeah.
Oh man.
Okay, so I think that's a good segue into the next story that I have up here, and that is how Scarlett Johansson is basically criticizing her portrayal as like too sexualized in previous movies.
Just now?
Yes, I know.
It's been like 12 years.
Well, it's after she cashed all her checks, and what is her contract up at that? Like this is her last time playing the role.
Yeah. So I have a question though. Was this brought up by an interviewer? Like they specifically asked her how she felt, and her answer was, just off the cuff, or was this something that she came out with on her own?
That is a good question. That is kind of important.
It says here, there's a sort of sexualization of superheroes. How did that affect?
Yeah, I was trying to see if it brought up in the previous paragraph, and I believe it was brought up by the interviewer on Collider. and that's where she starts to answer. And I don't know, it just,
that's something I will say, and not that I'm a big defender of some of these actors, but these journalists, whether it's actors, whether it's sports, they are asking questions that just really shouldn't be asked. Like you're talking to her about a movie. Like, why are you asking her this?
Well, yeah, they're trying to get something out so that they can push the article. It's 100%. It's a tactic that interviewers use all the time. Is get them to say something that is that we can use to sell a click, to put out there online and say, look at what we got. What do they call it? A soundbite. They try to get that soundbite, and that's exactly what this is. Now I'm real quick. This is the first time I'm reading her answer, and I'm not a big defender of these actors either, but her answer doesn't sound all that bad to me. Like reading her thing where she's like, yeah, in Iron Man 2, and she does say, well, had a lot of fun and a lot of great moments in it. The character is so sexualized, and that, like, from what I remember about Iron Man 2, it very much was. That was when she came on as Tony Stark's assistant, and Tony Stark spent half the movie just hitting on her, like the entire thing. So, I mean, she's not wrong. I didn't have a problem with it. It's kind of Tony Stark's character. He's a playboy. That's who Tony Stark is.
Yeah.
She's not wrong there, but again, it's just it's whether or not you have an issue with it. That would be on a more personal level. On each individual person has a problem with it, then that's kind of on them, I think.
And I don't know if I'd characterize it as, the hyper sexualization, because it seems quite a bit like she's suggesting that this happens more to the female characters. But we all know that, Henry Cavill is taking his shirt off in every single movie. Yeah. And
it's in the contract.
For sure. Yeah.
Chris Evans in Captain America.
Yes.
Yeah. And I remember an interview with Chris Hemsworth, Thor, for Thor 3 Ragnarok. There was an interview somewhere where he was like, yeah, I really didn't want to take my shirt off for this one scene, but they were insisting that I did. And it was the scene like right after when Hulk got out of the hot tub. Remember we got to see Hulk's butt? It was like, yeah, this is kind of what comic books are all about. It's that ultimate version of the human form, and they show it off. It is definitely part of the contract. When you sign up for a superhero movie, you kind of expect to be put in that position. Which is why these actors spend months and months and months preparing to literally look good shirtless.
Yes, well, it's true, and one of the things when the guys do it, that's for the women. And, for the guys to give, kind of that motivation, like, oh, yeah, I want to get stronger. I want to be like the superhero.
Yeah.
Like there's reasons. There's reasons for it being there. And, it happens to both the men and women. So I don't think it's a whole one-sided issue.
It's not at all. And I want to say, someone in your chat, like Graph Web, I think they have a good point, because it is only, I believe, in Iron Man 2 that she is very kind of more sexual than she is in the other movies. But he says he is a playboy and she's a spy. And that's a good point, because she's a spy. She's working him. Like, it is what it is. So if there was going to be a movie, she is more sexual. It makes sense she was in that movie.
Yeah.
And it's also one of the things that she uses.
Yes.
And we see that even in a later movie. In fact, it was the first Avengers film when she's being interrogated.
Yep.
Like, yes. I feel like this is something. And also, the thing I always like to point out is, what's her name again? She's called Black Widow. What is a Black Widow other than a spider? Like, what is the other knowing of what a Black Widow character is? It's like, I'm sorry, but if you're gonna try to ignore the fact that literally it's in the character name itself, I mean, it's feigning ignorance at that point.
Yeah. Especially because it's used specifically to get close to people like Tony Stark, or to get I guess other men to lower their guard so that she can get the jump on them. Like there's reason she uses that. Like it's her own, little bit of weapon, and then she kicks ass.
It's almost like a reverse James Bond in certain ways.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. And people have a big problem with James Bond these days, which is weird.
Yep.
But this second paragraph where she's kind of talking about that, again, maybe I'm being naive, but it doesn't sound like she's taken a shot at Marvel all that much. She says, these days, young women are kind of like figuring out how to gauge their self-worth and understand who they are. And it's changing now, which is true. Times are changing. Things are getting a little more weird, and people are getting more sensitive.
A little.
Yeah, a little bit. Are getting much more positive message. It's been incredible to be a part of that shift and be able to come out the other side and be a part of the old story, but also progress, evolve. I think it's pretty cool. So, I mean, her character has evolved. She was very sexualized in Iron Man 2, but as the movies have progressed, she's come into a great character, which is one of the fan favorites.
Yes.
And the sexualization has, I would say, gone down quite a few notches. I mean, she's still a very beautiful lady, and she's still a very powerful, awesome superhero in these movies. But she's kind of come into her own. So I don't really have much of a problem with what she said here. It's just, I think it's just more colliders trying to get that clickbait out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and it's probably Collider kind of projecting what they think, because they have some pretty interesting takes.
Yeah, again, like reading her answer, and I'd have to hear her actually say it to see what the tone of her voice is, but her answer doesn't sound like she's taking a shot at Marvel all that much.
No, I didn't think it was totally a shot. It just, I don't know, it seems, I don't know, it seems a little weird in that the circumstances change. So in the later movies, there wasn't exactly any position or mission where that would get used. All her other skill sets are at the forefront because that's what's needed.
Yeah, I agree.
Am I being naive in my take on this? Do you guys disagree with me? I feel like I'm giving them too much of leeway here.
No, I mean, I think that because these articles and publications always will lead the people on to be able to respond to or answer certain questions that they know will probably be answered in a certain way, and that they'll be able to then frame after the fact and take, as you were saying, like to take those little, sound bites out, like what I would call like headline bits, right? Because you can have an entire interview that's, 10 pages long, but if there's one line in there that gets a certain message across, they'll take that one line out of context, put that as their headline, and then you read the article and you read it in context, and then you realize that it's saying something completely different. So I feel like it's kind of both. Where they're obviously leading her with the questions, but then also she is responding in this way as well. But yeah, as you say, I don't think you're right. I think you're correct where she's not attacking Marvel. She's not attacking any of the executives in this way, but she is still acknowledging that things are different now.
Yeah.
But then again, I go back to the character and I'm like, but the character is still Black Widow, and that's still very much part of the characterization of that character specifically.
Yeah. She's a femme fatale.
Yeah, 100%. There's one actress I remember. She plays the Wasp in the new Marvel movies, but before that she was in the Hobbit trilogy, and that was the one time where I actually agreed that the studio and or executives, whoever made the decision to change the story around, really did that actress dirty, because when she walked into that role as the elf, I can't remember her name, but God, I feel like not a nerd, but
are you Evangeline Lilly? Is that her name?
Yes, Evangeline Lilly. She played an elf in the Hobbit trilogy, and when she went in and accepted the role, she said the only stipulation that I had for the studio was I didn't want to be part of a love triangle. She's like, that's the only, I just want to be my own character. I want to do my own thing, go on my own adventure, and like be a part of the story. I don't want to be part of a love triangle. And the studio literally rewrote the story that Peter Jackson had to put her into a love triangle with that stupid, like with the elf, or not the elf, the dwarf. And it was like so ridiculous and out of nowhere.
To bring Legolas back just to have him for most of the story be in this love triangle with the
it was
dwarf.
So ridiculous. And that was the one time where I was actually like, see, that is a very clear cut case of a studio doing an actress dirty by over sexualizing her like that. There is no argument for that. It was just ridiculous.
Then again, they were doing the fans dirty by adding in characters that had no reason to be there in the first place. I mean, 100%. And then making it into a 3-movie arc when the book is just as small.
It's like
as
a children's book. It's like 3 chapters.
Gosh, yeah.
I think one of the big differences between those, two situations is just the circumstance and character. it's so unnecessary in The Hobbit, where the other one, it makes a lot of sense. That's what would get used to get close to Tony Stark, because he is known as, that billionaire playboy. So what would you do? You'd send over, attractive spy, and you're guaranteed to get close.
Exactly.
And she's in control. She is in complete control the entire time.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you don't see people asking Robert Downey Jr., so did you feel over-sexualized as Tony Stark in Iron Man 1? Like, no, I was a playboy. That was the character.
Yeah. And I do have another super chat, so let me just get this quick. Luke Korlwicks, I always screw up his last name. I'm sorry, Luke. Sent in $2. Thank you so much for that. And okay, well, these are the rules, YouTube. I read it out. ScarJo is Megan Fox with a better pimp.
That's
an interesting way of talking about an agent, I guess.
Yeah.
I know.
Well, have you seen, like, Megan Fox's last movie was that one with the lion, I think? She played like a Navy SEAL or something. It was something ridiculous.
Yeah, but you also have to take into account the fact that Scarlett Johansson can act. I mean, that kind of has to be put out there.
Yeah, you got a point.
Yeah.
Scarlett more than just her looks, guys.
Exactly.
Oh, she absolutely is. And that's like, she's a badass in the Avengers. I love her character. And, the movie seems like it's coming out 10 years too late.
Because it is. Sure. It is coming out 10 years too late.
It should have came out. This movie should have been done after Civil War.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you there. Like, it really needed to come out when all the fanfare was going on and all the storylines were wrapped together, because you could have her in all those interesting situations on trying to find intel on, the major bad guys, whatever is coming next. Like, you would have been able to go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, and I like calling that out, because people like to make like Kevin Feige. He does no wrong. And he is really good at his job. I'm not putting that down. Not saying he's not, but I'm also going to call out his mistakes. And this is one of his shining mistakes. Like, that this should have been done after Civil War, and she should have been the first Marvel female lead, not Captain Marvel.
Yeah. People would have gone to that in droves, because they all like her character, because she can do so much more than just use looks.
Yeah, definitely.
And now instead what they've done is they did do the Captain Marvel film first. They did position it in a way where it was guaranteed to make at least $1 billion. And they've now, because of the pandemic, pushed Black Widow so far back that I honestly think that when that film comes out, I think it's going to lose money personally.
Yeah. I don't have a lot of faith in the next I don't know, series of Marvel movies. It just they don't seem all that interesting. Like, the Eternals has done nothing for me.
Yeah.
And after watching the last couple shows, like, I'm losing interest from that. So whatever comes out next, better bring it. Otherwise, I think it's going to end up turning off a lot of people, and they're going to be in big trouble, because you've already got a couple shows that back to back that people really didn't like. If you have a movie, that's going to be a sign for trouble.
They definitely have an uphill battle.
Well, and I was going to say, this is like the first year, and I know Marvel always put out like at least 3 movies a year, but because of just the nonstop since January of Marvel, I haven't watched Loki. If people say it's great by the end of it, I'll give it a try, but I've lost interest. Like, unless it's something that genuinely really grabs my attention, they've burned me out. Like, it's been Marvel nonstop since like the second week of January.
Yes, I'm with you. Like, that's one of the reasons why I just haven't tried to pick up Loki. And I've heard people say they really like it. I've heard people say they really dislike it. I'm not sure which way the majority is leading, but I don't have a desire, mostly because I've been so burnt out from all these movies back to back.
Yeah, I agree because, like you said, I hear people who like it, people who don't like it, but there's nothing drawing me to it because I'm just kind of burned out with all of it.
Yeah, I mean, they had a great ending. Like, I have to give them credit where credit's due. Those 23 or so odd movies leading up to Endgame, that was a phenomenal story. I think they executed it very well. I mean, they've maybe 2 or 3 stinkers out of 23 movies. That's pretty good. But that Endgame was such a good jumping off point for so many people. They're going to have to work really hard to get people interested in coming back to more stories.
Yeah,
I think so. They'll need to start building up a big enemy or threat very, very fast.
And here's the issue, though, is because I'm one of the ones where when Endgame first came out, I hated it because of the way they tried to handle time travel, and it just they didn't follow their own rules, and it was just this whole thing. And so the fact that that was like their jumping off point, and now Loki has picked it back up and made it even more of a mess. It's like, okay. And then it looks like Spider-Man's going to be playing around with time. Doctor Strange is going to be playing around with time. So basically, it's like their next major story arcs in their films are going to be dealing with timelines and stuff. And I think it's going to turn people off to be like so confused as to what's going on and why things are happening the way that they are. And I think also, too, a lot of people probably got to Endgame and were like, okay, yeah, I'm good. I've had my Iron Man. I've had my Captain America. And I don't really care about these new characters that they have.
Okay, what is it about all these franchises that they end up going towards time travel? That seems like a very consistent thing on anywhere across these type of shows.
I don't know. It's bigger and badder, and I have no idea.
Allows them to retcon things. It allows them to bring back old characters, but in new, like Star Trek, I think was one of the first, like, really to do it in a major way. Where obviously that was a big part of it, was they were able to make this timeline somehow, like, and what they did with it work within the framework of everything else. But then apparently in Discovery, things got even more messy because I didn't even bother watching that show.
Man.
But I heard it just got.
Season 1, they messed the timeline of Star Trek up so badly. It was like, I could definitely see how some fans would be like, they're taking a crap all over the original series. And I'm like, well, yeah, you're not wrong. They're definitely doing some serious retconning on this. It was crazy.
Yeah, I could not get into that series just because of everything that everything was so like ham-fisted.
Yeah.
It's just no nuance.
Like we're on my podcast, we're doing a whole Star Trek series on all the movies that have come out, some from the original series through the Next Generation, all the way up to the J.J. Abrams ones. And like we're going through right now, we're at the Next Generation phase. And like these movies and these TV shows were so good back then with dealing with morality and these questions of interpersonal relationships. It was so done with like this nice subtlety. And then you go to Discovery, and like I said, it's just beating you over the head with it. It's like, you're wrong if you think like this, and you need to be thinking like this, otherwise you're a bigot. It's like, can we go back to the 90s, please? Can we just?
The nuance. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm rambling now, but like the original series was made in the 60s. They took on some serious matters, but they did it so well.
Yeah, with nuance.
Yeah, with nuance and with like really interesting characters, and it just doesn't exist anymore.
Well, in the 60s, there were legitimate things to take on.
For real.
And for some people, the things to take on, they just haven't gone away somehow.
Exactly. They've never gotten better. We're going back like before the 60s.
Well, now it seems to be trying to reverse everything.
Yeah.
Now it's going back to undo the things that they progressed in.
Matt Bader's in the chat telling me to shut up.
I love that. I love that response that he gave.
Oh, okay, yeah, here it is. Matt Bader, save it for the pod, Salty.
Do you know Star Trek was one of those things I just never could get into? I was never a Trekkie. I was always just Star Wars. Star Wars.
Did I hear Star Horse?
That was
that is not what I heard.
Hey,
There were Star Horses in the last Star Wars.
That's what I was going to say. And I know what Yeti heard because I know the way your mind thinks.
I know it seemed like more of a Freudian slip to me.
No, that was a Zach and Miri make a porno reference.
Man, I feel like we all learned something about Michelle today.
Yeah. There's your soundbite.
It only happens around Yeti, too. It really does.
I have that effect on women. Oh, okay. I know we only had so much time with all you guys here today. So I know this has been an absolute fantastic talk with all you. Like, thank you so much for showing up. I had such a good time with you guys.
Of course, man.
Yeah, always good to be on.
Yeah. Odin, you're welcome back anytime. But before we end up going, is there anything you want to promote?
Just the Yeticast. Make sure y'all smash the like button. If you haven't smashed the like button already, and if you're not subscribed, make sure that you hit that subscribe button.
Well, thank you for that. And, make sure that you're subscribed to Odin if you're not. You probably are, but if you're not, you should be.
If you want really bad, oversaturated thumbnails, you can subscribe to my channel. But
And Yeti promises Odin that he will not be as intense as like Ryan and the guys on. he'll go close, but not fully there.
Not even close. Not even close.
I did give a heads up too about the subject that we were covering. I'm like, I want to make sure it's cool.
The fact that the first 5 words out of your mouth, not one of them was the F word. I mean, you're already doing so much better than Ryan. So
do you know, Natalie and I laugh. We were like, one day we should invite Ryan on and we should play a game. And the game will be, how long can Ryan go? Like, tell him, like let everyone know, like, it's a game. Like, can he win this game? How long can he go without saying the F word?
You'd have to immediately go into a story so that he would start to forget that there's a game there. So you have to have some good juicy bit, something that's blowing up on Twitter that'll like draw him out,
Oh, I don't think it would even take that. I think it would just be like, screw this, but it'd be F this, and he'd just go for it.
I'm in the same boat with you guys. Trying to get my co-hosts to not swear on my podcast is like trying to corral cats. It's just impossible. It's like, guys, can we try not to drop too many F-bombs this season? What the F are you talking about, man?
Like, I gotta go edit all this now.
it's like, great, I gotta list the episode as explicit now. Yep. Thanks, guys.
Okay, Salty, with that, is there something you want to plug right now?
Besides the Yeticast channel? I always feel like Odin's so gracious to do that because he did that on our stream, and Cage was immediately like, well, I'll shout out Odin for him. That's his thing. That's his MO. He just doesn't want to do self-promotion.
Yeah, it's a weird thing.
It's very classy. Very classy, sir. For us, just saltynerdvideo.com. We have our daily drop of our videos. We do trailer reactions, full-length podcasts on Fridays. This week we're doing Star Trek Next Generation movies, Generations, and what's the next one? First Contact. So we're going to be talking about that. We're getting ready for our big weekend at the Star Trek convention here in Las Vegas. We've got a booth. We will be there. So if any of you nerds out there in the channel are planning on heading down here, I know Nerd Roddick is planning a trip, and a few other YouTubers as well. So we will be there. We will be your hub. We'll have a booth ready with some drinks, some water, a place to sit down, put your stuff if you don't want to carry it anymore. So shout us out. Let us know you're going to come, and we will be there at the Star Trek convention this August.
Didn't y'all say y'all would have 2 booths?
Yeah, we're getting 2 booths. They give us 2 for a price of 1. It was pretty fantastic. So we'll have plenty of space. We're actually trying to figure out what to do with that second booth because we don't have enough to bring with us. We're like, what do we put some shirts?
You bring Batman.
Yeah, bring the Batman statue.
No, that is obviously what you bring. Come on, man. This is a clear choice.
Yeah. No. You bring Batman and you bring
the corks.
Corky. Yeah, exactly.
Corky, yes.
Thank you, Odin. Yeah.
Pay your respects. Like you have like a little offering plate, and it's like, pay your respects.
And just get a backdrop of the brick wall.
Yes.
Right behind them. That is how you complete it.
No, and then you have to have a 3D cutout of James Mangold, and then people can get a picture with
James
the backdrop
Mangold.
with James Mangold with Corky and
I'm down.
Batman.
It's a great idea. But we hope to see a lot of you guys there. If anybody is planning on showing up for the Star Trek convention, we will be there, and we hope to see as many of you guys as possible.
Yeah, make sure you check that out. And Michelle, do you have anything that you that you have going on right now?
No, just the same old, same old. We just cover whatever, whatever interests us. We just covered today. We looked at basically who wore it best. The new Shazam, the new Shazam suits versus the new Supergirl suit that we saw. So,
I can't wait to watch that video.
Yeah, make sure you go check that out right after. Did I post the link? Okay, here's the link. Yeah, well, thank you all for joining. Appreciate everyone being in here, the panel and the chat. You guys make me laugh. I love being able to read it. And I'll just mention that again, if you want to join some of the live roasts that I do, you can become a channel member, and then you get to jump on and roast movies with me. We do that on Discord and have a ton of fun. There's also, you get access to a private chat. And we're just in there, just talking. I'm in there every day with the members right now. So go check that out. And yeah, thanks everyone for being here. And we'll, I guess, see you guys next week. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.